In this 40 minutes interview with Diana Gladney, she will break down step by step how to accomplish an effective live stream from camera to equipment to audio into content creation and workflow. She would dig into the art, the strategy, while she also gives some of her secrets and how she came to this platform. Stick around and let's get into the interview.
Thanks so much for having me here.
Good. It is so good to finally get a sit down with you today, seeing that you are somewhat of a pioneer, right, in this business. I am so excited to have you on my show. And I wanted to ask you, the first question is, how and when did you get started in this YouTube business or camera, lighting, and things like that?
Yeah, for sure. So my whole content creation journey and then just getting started with cameras and stuff started like from day one. My coach did not give me like any breathing space on like either. It was like you need to make content in public and be online, even though I'm very introverted, which a lot of people are always like shocked and surprised to find out because they're like, well, you on the camera all the time, you're doing these slides, and I'm like, yeah, but I don't mean I won't hide from you in the grocery store. Like it's like I'm still who I am, but learning to work around those things. But it started with my coach probably back in, goodness, I would say 2016 or so, where he basically told me like you need to do a video. Like it was like our second coaching session or something. He was like, you need to do a video today, and in my heart and in my mind, I'm thinking like he has no idea who he's talking to. I don't take pictures. I'm gonna recycle these seven same photos on Facebook like they going out of style. Like, like I'm not, this not me. But, I didn't hire him for me to remain the same person. So I went ahead and just said yes. And that started a challenge where he told me to do 30 videos, which wasn't in 30 days. It was like making sure that it's like within like somewhere between 60 to 70 days or something like that. Every other day, you need to be posting a video. Well, mine took me like 6 months to get through those 30 videos. It was rough. And so I got started very reluctantly and with a terrible smartphone that was like the free one they
Wow.
give you for the $50 plans or whatever when you go to get a smartphone back in the day. Well, mine was still kind of a dumb phone. It was barely hitting the smart bar. So that's what I got started with. And it was real grungy. But the way that I eventually got to where I am now started with me asking these like questions. Like I saw this one guy's video and I'm like, man, your stuff looks like so good. How do you do that? And he's like a DSLR camera. And I'm like, well, what the heck is that? Or where do you go
Wow.
to get those? And I just started researching. And every question that I had that came from problems in my video, well, why does my audio sound like this? Why does it look like this? And nobody else's seemed to look like that. And just started researching stuff. And so I'm just like an obsessive learner that uncovered, honestly, a passion for me to do essentially what initially my coach got me started doing, which is helping people get visible using video. However, I transitioned that more so into helping you understand the video technology and the content creation side of things. Because I believe everybody has a purpose. And if everybody was in their lane, doing their job, but you're sharing your mission using video, I think the world will be a better place because everybody knows where to go when they're looking for things. It wouldn't solve everything, but I think it solved like a massive amount of things.
That is excellent, Diana. That was truly deep. I was listening to you and I was saying, wow, a camera, right? You. I would think that you always was using camera from day one. You were just
Mm-mm.
into camera, and you say you started with a phone, and
Mm.
you had to, you had a coach that helped you put those things in a perspective for you. And me on the outside, I am very new to YouTube, and I look at you as someone that you're at a level that I would like to be at. But just it's so good to hear you say that you started off with a phone, just a regular phone, and look at you today. I'm super proud of that. Super, super proud of that. Just know that there is,
Thank you.
I see hope, okay?
Yeah. Oh,
Because
yeah.
you are doing it. You are really doing it, and you didn't start by having all of these equipments. So that is something that I know a lot of people needs to hear is that it doesn't
Mhm.
take a big camera to do, and we'll get into that a little bit of that later on. How did you know that this was something that you wanted to do? Like, how did you figure out, man, this is it for me? This is what I love.
Uh,
This is where I'm going to stay.
It honestly didn't start off like that. It because like I said, I was very much so like, and especially like because I started ugly. Like the videos, they look terrible, and he's like, put out another one, and I'm like, man, why? Like these look bad. like like I don't like enough is like it's humbling,
Yes.
and then I don't know what come under humbling other than embarrassed, and then you just ready to put give up the
Yep.
ghost. But so I keep doing the videos, and they're looking terrible. Like they're progressively only getting better because I kept asking questions that led to one search. And as I produced more videos, the more problems that I ran into. So when I got into, essentially transitioning into cameras, more so, it's like I didn't get here willingly, if you will. Like that wasn't my thing. So I'm gonna ask you to restate your question because I want to make sure I bring home the point for it without getting too derailed into like the technical
No,
side because I tend to do
you're
that.
doing good, but I wanted the question was, how did you know this is what you wanted to do?
Okay. So like I said, it wasn't something I wanted to do, but I got to the point to where I was doing coaching with other clients. Like I said, the video is still looking bad. Like it's just not looking great. I'm looking lime green at times on camera. But when I started to finally get it like a year and a half plus in, and I got more excited about helping other people
Wow.
figure out the same stuff I struggled to go through because YouTube back in 2016 and even 15 when I was researching stuff is not the YouTube of today. It was not
Right.
the culture wasn't there in the sense of making sure that you're providing value. It just was like, look, I'm gonna sit here, I'm gonna talk, I'm gonna do whatever I want, and good luck, Chuck. So the way I knew it was for me though is when I got tired of talking about the consulting and like I used to help people set up their companies, and so just at least understand the technical side of it as far as setting it up. But I got bored with that because I'm like, that's not anybody could do that. I felt like it was cool and it was enough to get me going, enough to get me starting something to talk about. But the whole thing about sometimes you feel like you're multi passionate, I uncovered that what I thought I was most passionate about at the time, I wasn't. And so
Right.
that's when I knew it was time for me to go ahead and make the transition because one, my content and my analytics actually were showing that as well. The community was responding to those videos more when I would put something else out, like, hey, look what else I found about video. And here's a simplified way that makes this make sense for entrepreneurs and creators instead of you trying to be like a videographer or a photographer, because that wasn't the point. So
Right.
that's when I knew it was for me. It's like, and I felt comfortable making that transition when the audience was ready for the move, and I was too, because I just like you find out that you're actually not that multi passionate, but you do need to get maybe some of that energies that you have on you out, at least creatively.
Right. Um, Question, because I watched a video with you and you talked about, I think it was a live stream, you were talking about your transition from your job to doing your own thing. And I'm telling you, I think I rewinded like a couple of times because I just loved when you was like, I'm coming a little early, leave a little late. Coming a little early, leave a little late. And I was just like, she is from then I was like, yes, Diana, you got this. Can you tell me a little bit about that story? Because every time I think about you, I'm like, Diana, coming a little early, leave a little late. And that's
Listen.
what I'm about to tell them right now, right? So tell me about that story, Diana.
Oh my gosh. Of all the interviews I've done, nobody's ever asked that question. That's a really good question. Um, so here's the thing. My supervisors and the bank that I was working at, things were going awry. I'm somebody that reads the company reports and all the stuff when most people don't. And so it's getting to the point that I'm looking at changes. I'm looking at systems implementation because I always used to do and offer to participate doing a bunch of stuff. Well, I'm like, well, I don't want to play the game anymore because this is like, I'm tired of people talking about me because I would come in late because once I start coming in late, I've gotten to the point I don't care anymore. And that's literally what it was. It's just like, I don't care. And so if it's something to get in trouble about, I mean, like, we're not going to fight and square up in a parking lot or the break room because I can't, like, it's a form to sign and that's it. So I didn't
Right,
take getting seriously in trouble. And there's a million banking jobs. So it just wasn't that's, you know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't the severity of getting in trouble wasn't that big. Well, now it's getting to the point to where the company is trying to make decisions financially about what's going to happen. And they're trying to make sure we need more business, obviously, to make more money. Well, they all start doing all this like mandatory overtime. And I'm like,
mm,
no, because I'm trying to do, I'm at the time teaching teen church at the church that I belong to. And that was once a week, every week. I have my regular work schedule, and then I had from 5 until I faint. And sometimes the alarm will be going off, and I'm just now recording a podcast or whatever. And like I've been recording content overnight. And I would go to work feeling more energized because I did something for me that was more valuable that I felt would pay off more than just working a job that seemed to be going nowhere.
Right.
If they went to a hiring freeze and all this other stuff, man, they started talking about mandatory overtime. No, not this one. And so my supervisor started, meeting with me, asking like, well, what can you do? What can you do? Is it like something we need to adjust for your church? And I'm like, no. And I'm not giving an explanation because I didn't feel like I need to make an excuse, or because I don't have children, or I'm not married or anything. Like I don't need to make it seem like there's some other, like other people have valid reasons.
Right.
But it's like I'm not making an excuse for why I want to keep my time when I'm giving you. I used to be on the leaderboards consistently with the production, to the point they say I'm cheating. And it's like, you know what, fine. You think I'm cheating with my numbers or whatever. But when the big supervisors come sit with me, it's a whole shift change with how we're doing things. So I'm like, you know what? It's not benefiting me to do my best here. So I'm not going to. And so I was like, I'm going to do what everybody else does. So, which was just enough. Um, my supervisors met with me, and this is where the conversation comes in, because they're trying to convince everybody that they're not eventually going to close the bank, which eventually did happen,
Wow.
and all this other stuff. Well, now we're having this conversation of like, okay, well, we can get everybody else to do overtime, but Diana, we can't get Diana to do it. I
Diana
don't
to
care
do
who
it.
you bring in from out of town. Diana's not doing it. And so they was like, well, what seems to be the problem? I said, well, here's what I can do. I can come in a little early. I can stay a little late. I'm going to work through my lunch, and I'm going to take my breaks. But if by the end of the week, you still don't have what you need to numbers wise, I just don't know what else to tell you. Because my thing is, I'm going to give you my best while I'm here, especially when it would get busy. Fine, let's ramp up production. But I'm not going to give you more than that. I have stage 4 endometriosis, which means I'm on very heavy medications most of the time, stuff you're not supposed to drive on, but I'm helping people with the bank loans and stuff like that or whatever. And I can function, but that don't mean I should. And I'm not going to stay over here and do more 2 and 3 and 4 hours after work. It's not happening. And so it's like, okay, well, can you still, like, what is a little bit early? Like 5 to 15 minutes. A little. I said a little, like not. I didn't say little. I said a little.
A little bit.
So, right. So I'm like, I come a little early. It's like, oh, it's like, okay, well, can we get you to commit to 30 to 40? No. Well, can we get you to commit to coming in an hour? No. I can come in a little early, and I can stay a little late. I'm going to take my breaks, and I'll work through my lunch. And if by the end of the week, you don't have the quota of what you need to what's to be, I don't know what else to tell you. And so they brought in my supervisor, and then we all sitting in the merry-go-round, and they like, well, Diana, we're really trying to work with you. And I was like, I understand that. It's like, but we need a commitment of what can you do for overtime? Everybody's complaining because you leave at the regular time and they're staying. Like, don't you want the extra money? No,
No.
I'm making money outside of this. I'm not here for the money. It's like, well, can you just stay like another 2 hours at the work? I can come in a little early. I can stay a little late. I'm gonna work through my lunch, and I'm gonna take my breaks. And if by the end of the week you don't have what you need for that quota to be met, I just don't know what to tell you. And so that's how that that phrase and that story, because that's legit what I told my supervisors. And then I don't care how much they push and prod it, I'm not doing it. I value my time more than I value their time.
And I listened to you, Donna, that day, and I love it. And I said, look at her now. Look at you now. And I said, that is so powerful, so motivational for people that are trying so hard to, because 9 to 5 is hard. I am in the same position that you're in right now, right? It's a mandatory overtime. And I said, think about it. I said, mandatory overtime? Like, who does that really? But look at you now. And it's so motivational for me to know that there's something else, it's something better, because you're working and you're working 9 to 5, but you're really helping them. And the bank now is closed, right? And if Diana had sat there and decided to work overtime, where would you be now? You wouldn't have that time to put into you to now build yourself, right? And you're helping people while you're doing it. So listen, I know I wanted you to bring it up to talk about it, so I'm glad that you did, because it was something that really drew me to you. It was like, this woman is powerful, because you have, and the thing is, there's faith, because I'm a church girl, right? I'm a faith girl.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Mm-hmm.
faith, and when God puts something into you, we have to be able to figure out a way to stand true by that, right? Don't worry
Mm-hmm.
about you're gonna get fired, or I'm gonna write you up. Okay, well, if I know that I can do something better with what I'm doing, that's what I'm gonna do. So I am so happy, and so, like, I look at it and I think and I laugh all the time. I'm coming a little late, coming a little early, stay a little late. And that is so powerful. So moving on from that, I'm glad you was able to give me that little bit here. I know that you are like super dope with cameras and equipment and stuff like that. What equipment would you recommend, and why? What's the most? And maybe do a camera and a audio, like a camera and audio.
Okay. I would definitely say for somebody that's just getting started, you've probably heard this before, but I'm going to give you context for why you really need to maybe listen this time for those that may be listening or watching this later, which is start with your phone. And it doesn't seem sexy. It's the thing you use for everything else. And because you're wanting to show that you're committed to doing something that you're really passionate about or you're feeling excited about, you want to make this investment into it. The reason I'm saying start with your phone first, really make sure that this is what you want to
You
do
want to do.
first. There's nothing more gutting because there's nothing I can do about it, but there's nothing more gutting than to get these emails and these DMs from people that say I've had my camera for a year or two, or it's been sitting on the shelf and I don't know what to do. It's like the tutorials are there, the trainings are there, the membership or the courses are there, not doing nothing and just, sitting on it. So it's better to honestly see if you can follow through with 30, 40 videos on your phone before either you are so annoyed that you are now willing to make an investment in the camera gear and
Right.
equipment, or you realize, you know what, this really isn't for me, or this is actually more than I thought it would be, is not something I'm willing to commit to, because sometimes in that denial of that individual thing can lead you to where you're wanting to go. And so I say all distractions are equal. So
Right.
this could be a distraction for some people, and you need to identify that first before you start dropping thousands and thousands of dollars on equipment, even hundreds of dollars to begin with. So that's the one thing I would say, because honestly, it could be a TikTok thing for you, and then you
Right.
can still use your phone, and that different medium is what you need. So I say start with your phone because it's an uncovering process that needs to happen there when you're first getting started. Now, if you're ready to transition into a camera, or that you know, fantastic. Don't touch DSLR cameras as I did when I first got started, because that was what was needed for that time. What's needed for now is to start with, if you're going to go that route, with a mirrorless camera. They're going to be smaller. They'll sound better when you're connecting a microphone to the microphone port in the camera. And so it'll help you save on some investments. The introductory price that I suggest, whether you're buying something new or used, it's going to be at least at the $500 to $600 range. And this gets you nothing but the camera. This is not the SD card to capture the memory. This is not a microphone. This is not the lights. This is not anything, not a tripod or whatever. And for goodness sakes, don't buy one of those everything Amazon kits. It's a fantastic way to waste your money. So if you're wanting to, see what the finances look like, getting into camera stuff is more expensive than you think that it would
Right.
be. The $500 or $600 is not covering a whole loot of gear. It literally is the bare minimum for camera requirements. Some good base level cameras to start with would be something like you have the Canon M50 Mark IIs, you have the
Right.
Canon M6 Mark IIs, you have the Sony ZV-E10s, or even like the Sony ZV-1, which is a bit of more of a point and shoot, and you're not
Right.
switching out the lenses. Microphone setups. I encourage you to take a look at what kind of content do you intend to create. If you're just wanting to sit down in the living room or sit down in your space and record a piece, then you need to think like, because you tend to know yourself, are you going to get annoyed having a lapel microphone clipped on your shirt and dragging the floor up to the camera? Like, is that tethering process going to be annoying for you? Or would you prefer to have something wireless so that you're good to go and you can move around, especially, let's say you're in the education based space and you're wanting to be up on a whiteboard?
Right.
So really think about what kind of videos, not just quote unquote YouTube videos, what kind of content are you thinking about making? Or are you going to be sitting at a desk where a podcast style microphone makes more sense. So
Mm-hmm.
you're sitting, you're doing stuff like this, and you're recording video podcasts, maybe, or whatever. Then at that point, you want to look at a podcast style microphone like the Shure MB7,
Okay.
Samson Q2U. I'm on the Shure SM7B, but this goes a little bit off the deep end a little bit. But you can start with those, and it takes a USB and connect to your computer directly, and you're good to go. So that's what I would say. The microphone is usually like those three categories. It's going to be a lapel microphone, a shotgun microphone, which can be like what you see here. You see a lot of vloggers using these, sit on the top. And that's if you're going to be within 1 to 2 feet away from the camera.
Okay.
Anything further, it sounds like you're yelling down a hallway. So it's not effective at that point. If you're in close proximity or noisy background or environment, podcast style microphones are great when you're sitting at a desk or stationary setup or something like that. And of course, lighting is imperative because that honestly is the secret squirrel sauce for a good looking video is good lighting to make
Right.
sure your stuff can be seen and you can actually draw out what your camera is capable of.
Right. Thank you. I noticed you said something about the microphones, and I do
Mm-hmm,
have the two cameras that you mentioned, the ZVE10
mm-hmm,
and the M50 Mark II. Those are the two that I currently have and is using. With the microphone, I have a Blue Yeti, and
mm-hmm,
um, didn't do much research, but I did some. And I didn't realize, because I'm new to this YouTube journey, that this was a condenser mic. And I notice a
mm-hmm,
lot of times it picks up so much sound in the background.
mm-hmm,
And I do have a desktop because I am sitting at a desk and I have like a little space. So I do have it on the desk right next to me. But if sometimes I'm doing videos or streams and my baby's like running back and forth and you can hear him, or you can hear their close a door, you can hear them, somebody's, Samantha, come here. You can hear somebody whispering in the background.
uh-huh.
So I love the mic. I really do love it. And I kept saying I should get a new one. But for the meantime, I kind of did some settings and adjusted it and just tell everybody, stay in your rooms, please. Samantha's going live. Stay in your rooms. Don't come out. Just stay in there. What do you what would you recommend me doing? This is like my first year. I don't want to really get another one right now. So it's something that I can adjust to for a little bit longer. Do you think it's a good fit to keep using it, or make a transition and switch to something like the Shure ZV or something like that?
So in that scenario, so a quick explanation there. You have a condenser. There's what's called a condenser or a dynamic style microphone.
Okay.
The ones that I've recommended, even the ones that I'm using right now, is a dynamic style microphone. If you can imagine a bubble about the size of my head around the tip of the microphone, that's the pickup pattern of this
Wow.
microphone. It's going to pick up my voice, the audio coming from here, because even if I slightly move it, that audio is going to go down tremendously. So a condenser microphone, though, is more so that style of pickup pattern. It's going to pick up more of the audio around you. And even though the Blue Yeti has where it can reframe or readjust the pickup pattern for around, it can't change its true nature, which is a condenser microphone is more sensitive and it will pick up more of the audio around you. I have a bunch of planes from the military that usually flies over a lot. And it's not until you get some really, really strong jets that come through that are very, very loud that you then start to hear that audio. Otherwise, you don't hear anything. I can have my nieces and nephews, and many times they usually are running, jumping off sofa, whatever, having fun in the living room with no care in the world. And I'm here in the office doing my thing, and nobody can tell the difference. So I would say change it. And this is one of those times where it's like, oh, buy new gear or not. The way that you know that you need to buy new gear is when what you currently have, yeah, it technically works, but it also helps and introduces problems. You don't, there's no way to really quantify your time in the sense of how many times you got to re-record or stop and re-record for things outside of the occasional mess ups or I didn't say something quite the way I wanted to and restarting. That's different. When it's something because the equipment is
It's
introducing
faulty.
problems, now this is when it's time to make the adjustment. Something like you can get the Samson Q2U. That's something that is like $60, maybe $80 at the highest price point. Shure MV7 is a bit higher priced. In that sense, maybe like $250. So you can make that chain exchange, and you can even sell that
Right.
microphone if you wanted to. And the reason why I say that is because it'll give you a good, rich, quality audio, and it won't matter for those some of those sounds because it will reject most of the noise around you. I'm not in a sound treated room. Some people think, with the foam paddings and all that stuff. I'm in a functional working office. So I get like when you're in a functional living space with family and people around
Yeah,
you.
they're
But it's
always
not until,
bouncing back and forth.
yeah, it's like, so you can't really help sometimes that, but you want to make sure your gear helps solve problems instead of sometimes introducing problems. So that's why I would say go ahead and switch it out at that point.
Okay, that's thank you for that, Diana, because that was something that I really wanted to make a change on, because I just, and I don't like to, whenever I do a stream or a video, I don't like to watch it back. I literally creep when I hear my voice, like, oh my gosh, I sound so terrible. I'm listening for what I hear in the background,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily like that, right? I'm listening for what I hear
Yeah.
in the back in the background,
I
not
mean,
my
but
voice.
it's real life though. That's the other thing, and I think
Yes,
2020 did
yes.
a good job of letting everybody know like this is real life. I've been on like conferences and stuff that people are paying to get access to and all these things, and somebody's little kid will run up and it's like, mommy, my gummy bears are stuck together, and so it's real life. It is what it is.
Yeah. And it's adjustment. There are some times when I'm doing a stream
Mm-hmm.
and my little one just comes and I have to literally pick him up and sit him down, say hi to everyone, say hi, because it's life. It's normal. And that's what I love so much about YouTube. I started YouTube last year, February, and I
Mm-hmm.
started because I had lost my job due to COVID. I was a medical coder and I lost, I did emergency facilities coding. So emergency room was shut down. So there was not enough patients for everyone. So they close the department and send some people different places. And I didn't want to move or take less pay. So I decided to just say, I'll take my severance. So over a year, and I was like, what do I do? And I've always wanted to inspire and motivate and do motivational things, but I was always afraid of talking in front of people. So I
Mm-hmm.
decided to make t-shirts and go on Facebook Live and, talk about the t-shirt and stuff like that. And I started doing that for a while. And someone was like, Samantha, why don't you do live streaming? Go on YouTube. And I was like, I don't know about that, because that means I have to be on camera every day. No, 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 no. I don't know. I talk in my tongue. I'm originally Jamaican. So I talk, and sometimes, that accent come out and I'm like, oh
Mm-hmm.
gosh. So I don't like to do that. So I remember one day someone was like, just do it. And I tried and I got on YouTube, and you don't want to watch my first videos. It's terrible. I know you talked about it, but it is terrible. My first videos. And I started, and then I realized that what I was doing live streams and then uploading it as a video. Didn't know that's what I was doing. So
Mm-hmm.
then I started getting used to live streams. So I started enjoying the streams, and people come in. Well, in the beginning, there was nobody. I was talking to myself for
Mm-hmm.
like a good maybe 3-4 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
until I started getting 1-2 people come in. And I kept doing it because I started to like it more. I'm more of a streamer than doing video. I don't, when I hit
Mm-hmm.
record, I say something and it's totally off all the time. But when I go live, I'm just like natural with it. So I decided to do the stream. And then in the middle of it, I started seeing other things that you can do and make changes in scenes. I got into Ecamm and all these things. And then it's like, it's so overwhelming, Diane. I'm like, what do I do with all of this stuff? And then you got to get into content. Like, what type of content do you put in a stream? What time do you put in a video? How do you balance the two? How do you know what to do in a stream to keep your audience engaged, and then
Mm-hmm.
to still put out videos to get them to come back and watch it? So I know you're, simplifying your strategy. You do that well with content creation. Can you give me some tips or ideas or strategy that you can keep your live streaming engaging to your audience, and being able to separate the two, doing videos and then doing content for your stream as well?
Yeah, for sure. So there are some things when you're doing content where there's content that is more like open ended and close ended. And what I mean by that is that if I say the Sony ZV-E10 is the best camera for YouTube content creation, it's pretty close ended in the sense that I'm just saying this thing is great for this, period.
Okay.
There's nothing else to it. It's not open for discussion. And that's all it is to it. Not that people wouldn't join the stream with that title or whatever the case is, but if I was to reframe to make that more open ended for a live stream in that sense, it would be is the Sony ZV-10 is the Sony ZV-E10 everything that everyone says it is, or is it a waste of money?
Mm.
I've opened up now a duality of if this is true, then why, or is it not, or are we
Right.
being duped here?
Now it's a
So this now
question,
opens, yeah,
interaction. Right.
this now automatically, before any content has been released on this in the live stream, this automatically says that like pick your camp. Like if I say, I always make the joke, especially like in live streams and stuff like this, white chocolate is better than dark chocolate. This is not open for discussion. That automatically opens
Open
up the
to the
door for discussion.
discussion.
Is it? Because I've now started a war in the chat.
Yes.
And people find their people, like, and now it starts conversations and things like that. But I'll find a way to do a couple things. Number one, I'm going to create that title that's going to be more open ended instead of close ended, in the sense that I want you to be open to discussion. Or I'm going to say, like, give me something that your audience would talk about, or you would talk about with your audience.
Mine is mostly like motivation and
Mm-hmm.
affirmations and things like that. Like, how to, let's see, get over like a challenge or a struggle that you're going through. It'll be
Okay.
more geared towards that, like
Okay.
encouraging, motivating them.
Okay. So in that case, then it's like you could say something that, again, we're one leading to interest and curiosity and things like that. So I may say three phrases, three phrases your coworkers say to you that's killing your creativity, or something along those lines, right?
Okay.
Or your coworkers, or why your coworkers is your worst ally, and
Oh,
something in that sense. Because now I'm going into relations of like this. Everybody has, I don't care, best job ever, worst job ever. You have some kind of a connection, relationship, or something, or a
yes.
memory, or most, like, there's some relational experience there between yourself and your coworkers, whether that was good or bad. And for a lot of people, it's a very toxic situation that they can't get out of or get around, because it's not up to them if that person works there or not.
Right.
It's not up to them if they work with that person or not. Or I want to address something that maybe is trending. It's like, here's how to get out of your next Zoom meeting,
Mm.
without being punished or something like that. So you have time for mental space, time for mental clarity, or time for yourself. Those are things that are opened up. Now I'm leaning into the interest of what that person wants. So that's the thing. It's like I want to open up to something that's a bit more open ended, that's now going to start speaking to, here's how we can start to dialogue about this. And I would lean into story. Story is very huge, no matter what industry that you're in, because I may kick that live stream off and say, let me tell you about the time I almost got fired for choking a coworker. And it's a real story back of that, where I didn't actually assault anybody, but I've brought you into a conversation, because how many times have other people, no matter where they live
Yes.
or what job they have, and it's just like you wanted to reach out and touch in a way that was not going to be healing to that other
To the
person,
person,
but
correct.
like
But
it
you
was
did
going to
it
be some
anyways.
confrontation. You have furniture moving,
You did it
and so
anyways.
yeah, so it's like, so now you have that kind of a thing. Now, when it comes to recorded video content versus live video content, live is more so discussion. Not that you can't go into topical trainings or things like that. And I always set the stage and set the room. Especially if I'm going to go into a teaching topic, I'm going to let people know, like, and engage with them at first, whoever's the
Right.
first to join or whatever. I'm never going to say I'm waiting for a few more people, or wait to people or people that join, because one, it ruins the integrity of the replay value for the people that come
Come
afterwards
back
to watch.
afterwards.
And it also dismisses the person that did arrive early, even if it's only one or the two.
Right.
And so it's honoring both parties at the same time. So I'll say, hey guys, we're going to jump right into the content. What's up, Susie? What's up, Karen? What's up, Jeff? We're going to go ahead and dive in. I actually want to talk to you about why your coworkers' belief system is rubbing off on you. Things like that. And like, we'll get into the content first. I want to stop after like my second point or so, and like, we'll answer a couple questions. We'll bring home the last point, and then we're going to dive straight into Q&A. So whether you watch this live or on the replay, thanks for being here. Let's jump right in. And so one, the person that's watching on the replay knows where to
Knows
go. I'll
where to
add channel
go
chapters
based on what they're
afterwards.
looking for in the stream. I
And the
love
people
that.
that are there, yeah, the people that are there now know what to expect. But recorded videos, they don't
Right.
want that. They don't, or like dedicated recorded videos. Your people are looking for answers that are the equivalent of going to urgent care. They're
Mm-hmm.
looking for a right now, let me come in, get service, and leave back out. They're looking for a pain reliever. So they're looking at the timestamp along with everything else or the video, like 45 minutes. Not for, they think it may take less time because it
Right.
actually maybe should. So that's the difference in the relation there.
You said something. You said a point earlier, Diana, that about um. Let's see if I can remember exactly how you said it. It was in terms of keeping that person, like if one person comes on, saying something to them right away so that they don't feel
Mm-hmm.
like they're, they're valued. And
Mm-hmm.
I know what live stream, when I started out first, for me it was hard because I felt like sometimes I wouldn't have anybody on and I didn't get that real strategy of just saying, welcome anyways and just keep going. I always took that moment to pause to say, okay, let me wait for one more person. And I started to realize that that's not the best way, Samantha. You need to just talk anyways, because someone's going to come back and watch it. And
Mm-hmm.
always think about the other person as well, not just the first person that's there or the two people that's on the stream, but your replay viewers. And the question is, how do you get, because I don't get a lot of replayers on my streams,
Mm-hmm.
what's a good strategy to get people to come back and watch your, because they'll start like in the middle but won't get all the way to the end of the content if it's a live stream, and they're
If
typically like an hour long, hour, sometimes I even go to 2 hours because people won't stop talking in the stream, but that's
mhm.
another story.
I would definitely say if there's a dedicated topic, put that up front.
Okay.
Because the one thing with live streaming that most people don't come to realize is that very much so live streaming is about trust, meaning that your audience has to trust that in real time you're going to give them what they want, or this time is going to be well spent. The difference with recorded video content, we can skip, scan, scroll, or hit the backspace until we find a resolution to what we're looking for. With live streaming, we don't know when you're going to get to the point. We don't know when it's going to go
Right.
into Q&A. That's why I said I'm going to give them the lay of the land essentially when we're first getting started. So if they are live, they know, like I'll tell them, go ahead and fire up the chat, drop as many comments and questions that you have. Because once we go into Q&A, then I can dive right in. If we don't have any questions, then we can go ahead and wrap this up. Like I'm very upfront with my community in that sense, but to get the replay viewers there, sometimes it's about consistency and other times it's maybe about restructuring the live stream. So if I know for the season that I'm in with live streaming, I'm not getting a ton of people there yet. It's most of the time they don't know if they can trust you with that live real time yet. Or they're not sure if the topic is really going to like be stretched out along this hour or is it only at a certain segment. So the channel chapters help after the video in live stream is done to let them know where to go. Then you can use your analytics to go back in and say, where did they find the most interest at? And so I may literally go in at 2 minutes or something like that, or whatever is in the beginning. And we'll just put the chapter that says start here or content starts here so that they go straight
They
to the
know where
point
to
of what
go.
they want. And now, reason why I put the content up front and then the last chapter on the live stream will just be Q&A is because that's hangout time. That's family time. That's for people that want to ask questions based on the content that we went through in the beginning. So even the people that are there and that are live and reacting and engaging in the chat, even with one another, I told you, I'm not ignoring you. I'm here for you and I'm going to acknowledge you. That's why I say hello in the beginning. And I'm like, okay, guys, we're going to jump right into the meat and potatoes. And then afterwards, based on the questions in the chat, then I'm going to dive into Q&A. We don't have any questions. We'll go ahead and wrap this up. So they are aware. So live streaming is very much so about trust. And the way that you get those people to come back over and over or even watch the replays is because they have now learned to trust your live content. They know that you're going to value that time. There's no way I could do what I call my 5-hour energy live streams where literally I say I'm going to do a Q&A and we're doing this Q&A for 5 hours, not because I said we're doing it for 5 hours, but because they won't stop asking questions. Yeah.
Wow.
But that's only after doing tons of live streamings where they know how they can trust that time.
That is amazing. I need to take that I need to take that strategy down and do that, because when I do my live streams, I always do affirmation in the beginning and then my content in the middle and then Q&A. So I need to go back and do that and create that definitely timestamp to know this section will be content and don't deviate from that. Because a lot of times the chat, because maybe I'm not used to doing it as much, but the chat comes in and people are asking questions and I'm going to questions, I'm answering questions. So I like that way you say Q&A will be after, the content is given. So the replay viewers can get the content. And if they want to listen to Q&A, they have time for that. So that is a perfect and a really good strategy to keep it that way. So your audience stay engaged and the same with your replayers come in and able to watch as well. So that is a great strategy, Diana. I have a few more questions for you. The other question is, do you, let's see, is there anything else that you think is, when you talk about live streaming, and I know you talked about a strategy, do you think that there's anything else that a person that's starting out new can do in the beginning that would help them to build their confidence in doing streams? Because a lot of people want to do it, but they're afraid, not knowing what to say, how to say it, how to engage with their audience. What are effective ways that a new person wanting to start live stream can kick off, just take the veil off, as they would say, and just get right into it?
Yeah. The one thing is that you're going to get comfortable by doing videos, by doing more videos. There's no way around it. And we talked about this a little bit even before. It's like the way that I got past being comfortable on camera, even like being super introverted, is because I pretended that whoever is on the other side of the camera and just looking at my camera is the best friend that I've had for years, and we can talk, and like I can be and tell my corny jokes and whatever. I can fully be myself, or I don't worry about if I couldn't pronounce a word or whatever the case is. So the thing is that you have to understand live streaming is about human connection. People are there to connect with another person, and yes, to get the information, but there's nothing other than live content that can be as close to that belly to belly, person to person interaction. So don't be afraid. Like if you were sitting at dinner, or you're sitting at lunch or breakfast with somebody, you say, "What the heck was that word? Oh, I can't remember. Let me see." Like most people would feel like that is diminishing the quality of the live stream because I messed up and I couldn't remember the word. I had several times just doing a test live stream last week where I literally was working on like 3 or 4 hours of sleep, couldn't remember English to save my life that day. And all the chat was just like, "You mean this word? That y'all my people. You're my people," because usually I'm on point. Today I don't know what's happening, but we rolling with it anyway. So that's the one thing I would say. The other thing, if you're getting ready to live stream, be prepared to have no one there. And that's perfectly normal. And honestly, is one of the greatest gifts that you can have when you're live streaming in the beginning, because you need to get comfortable with delivering content. I used to get so nervous and scared. I literally would be like sweating, like need to go get cleaned up and change my clothes just from live streaming, for how nervous it used to make me feel when I used to do that. But the one thing I learned is that you need to prepare and have engagement and energy as if there are 50 people in the chat, even if there's no one there. And so I'm communicating the same messages. I'm pre-preparing examples that are relevant to my audience, or I'm using their own language about certain equipment or gear or frustrations that they're having that may have come from other comments. Or if you're brand new and you just set up a new channel, go to other channels' comments in your niche and start understanding the dialogue and the frustrations around the same topics that your people are having. They just haven't found you yet. That doesn't mean they're not your people. So it's like making sure that you're preparing examples and stories and things like that. And so your first couple live streams may only be 10, 15, 20 minutes. There's no reason really sometimes to go beyond that in a live stream, unless you're for real doing like a full blown presentation. But your first few live streams may only be 10 or 15 minutes. And that's all that it is. But the fact that you're getting this repetition, because repetition is the mother of all learning, you're putting in the reps so that you can consistently get better. So the day that somebody shows up, now all you do is swap the example that you had prepared, or that story. Or it's like if you're here in the chat, it could be one person, nobody knows, you know what I'm saying? At that point, if you're here in the chat, make sure you go ahead and drop, let me know what was your most frustrating thing that you've ever done in person that just made you like super embarrassed. So let me know. I'm curious. That what happens with me is I'm transitioning as if there's other people about to leave me comments, whether that person is going to leave that in the chat or they're going to leave it in the comments. Either way, I'm now transitioning into what my example is, not missing a beat with it, because I know there's nobody there yet. I'm not saying, okay, let me see. Nobody has anything to say. All right. So I guess I'm just going to tell you my story. You don't have to do that.
Right.
Like, so that's the one thing a lot of people will do. And that's the last point is stop acknowledging the mistakes that you're making because it's a performance of one. You're nobody's looking at your stream, your content, and comparing you to somebody else like you're a Walmart TV on the screen
Right.
and wall of TVs. Is not working like that. They came to you with the expectation that maybe this person has my answer. That's all that they're looking for. They're not trying to judge anything else. Everything else is coming out of your own head, so you can stop it. So you don't need to say, oh crap, I don't know what's happening. Oh, I hit the wrong button. Shoot, wait 1 second. Hold on. Unless it's for real, like a breakdown in the system. I've
Yes.
had where cameras have turned off. I've had the microphone go out. Then at
I've
that
had too
point,
much to count.
listen, welcome to the live audio podcast until I figure out my camera. I'm going to keep going with the tips while in the background that like I don't get
Yes.
embarrassed in that sense. Like we just moving right along.
Right.
And people be like, you got a ghost that turned off the camera. Well, he need to pay bills because as far as I know, I'm the only one on the lease. And it's like we keep it moving. So that's what I would say. Like just don't get
Yes.
too stressed out about mistakes and stuff like that. You got to keep the ball moving.
I love it because when I started, I tell you, my audio was off. Sometimes I would do a whole 5 minutes and nobody heard me. The camera was whack. Sometimes I started a stream and it was on a different place, not where I thought I was, and people were in the comments, and I'm over here and they're over there. It's because I started out in OBS, and that's where I started out. I didn't know about Ecamm, and I did all these nice overlays and things, and sometimes I would try to do a stream and it'll go someplace else, or it was just too much. So I totally get it, and I know I'm a year in and I'm doing much better. I still see some things that I can work on, but I know that, it takes work. It takes work, takes consistency to come on even when nobody's there. Come on and still talk and get out of that, because everybody's looking at it and saying, okay, well, she did it that way, I did it that way, I want to do it like that, I want to do it like that. Just do it, right? Just do it. Just turn the camera on and talk and just be yourself and be you and enjoy it. Make sure that it's something that you love. And I think if we stop worrying about, Mary and Lou and John and Mark and start worrying about Samantha and Diana and just be Diana, just be Samantha, then, you will see the results, right? I am so glad that you were here today to talk with me, Diana. And I wanted to ask you just like, is there anything that you think that you didn't say or that I didn't ask you already that you thought would be an effective way, something that you must have, whether live streaming, whether video and whatever you're doing in your journey, in YouTube journey, that you need to take focus on while on this platform?
The one thing I would definitely say for someone that may be listening to this later on is when you're going through this journey, a lot of times comparison becomes the thief of joy because you let the comparison come in, and everybody has this at different stages. And even I have to constantly combat that, you know what I'm saying? Like on different things, something that's new or whatever the case. So you really have to guard your mind and what you're saying to yourself, that sometimes if somebody else said that to you, it'd be a fight.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So sometimes you have to check yourself to make sure you're keeping a care over your own belief systems. And then when you're getting into content creation, there has to be something bigger than the reason of whatever the initial goal is. Fine to want to make money. I'm not averse to that. It's fine to want to change people's lives. I'm not averse to that. And it's fine to want to do something to create a legacy. I'm cool with that. But there has to be a reason why you personally want this. And when you personally make a connection to why you're doing this, it makes it very, very, very hard to quit because it's not like, oh, I'm quitting on somebody else. It's like most people take too much weight and leverage to, oh, I'm quitting on my kids, I'm quitting on my family. The hell with them. What about you? And I mean that very like emphatically and things like that. It's like you had a purpose before your children got here. You had a purpose before you needed to take care of that loved one. Yeah, they become a beneficiary of your purpose. You must have a personal relationship with why you're wanting to do what it is that you're wanting to do, and keep that thing. It has to be bigger than whatever other bully walks in the room, whether it's a coworker talking stuff, whether it's you talking stuff to yourself on an occasion, or whether it's something that happens and goes awry that makes you feel incompetent, afraid, and just unprepared. or like maybe I shouldn't do this. That thing that you're connected to, your reason why needs to be bigger and big enough to beat up all those other bullies when they walk in the room.
Wow. I love it. I love it. I just love it. I think that's the key to being in this platform is to know that you have a purpose. Why are you here? Don't do it because of anybody else. And I say that all the time. Like, you have to know your purpose. This is not what I envision me being on any camera talking to anybody. And when I got here and I realized that the idea that I had was to inspire, because I'm afraid of literally sitting in front of someone and talking to them, or even in a big crowd. That's like was never my thing. And so I thought about it and I prayed about it and I said, God, I want to be able to inspire people, motivate people, but I have to do it in my home because I'm so timid and so afraid to go into large groups. And he opened up the doors, right? And I sit here and I said, what is your purpose? And I get messages sometimes that, Samantha, you inspired me today. You motivated me today. I was so glad I was in your stream because what you said helped me. And that's the goal. Make sure that your purpose is in line with what you are doing. So I love that answer. I love that you added that in there because that is my reason for being on here. It's Samantha Just Inspired for a reason. I added the just because I don't know what else to do. So I'm just going to inspire people and hope that when they're inspired, they, inspire others and, share the love and everything in the world. So thank you so much, Diana, for being with me today, for sharing your expertise, for sharing a little bit about your story. I truly, truly, truly look at you as a pioneer in this platform. You are doing awesome. I'm super proud that you are
Thank
where
you.
you are in the position that you're in and doing it so well as well. So thank you for being here with me today. And I just wanted to find out from you any social media handles. I'll go ahead and pop. I do have your IG because you can find her on IG, Instagram at Diana Gladney, and also in YouTube as well. You can find her there if you like check out her channel. She does really good tutorials because I've watched a lot of them, live streams and things like that to get you set up if you want to be effective in your YouTube journey. Check out her channel as well. So thank you, Diana, for being here, and I hope we can do
Pleasure.
this again another time.
For
Right?
sure.
All right.